Well, let's get to yesterday's game then. All right, because we start out in the first half, and we played something Bradley actually did already play, which is that triangle in the middle, except this time he did it with Bradley, Jones, and Beckerman in the first half. He had Buttle up top, Torres out left, Donovan out right, Castillo in the back at the left, Cherundolo on the right, and then Bocanegra and Orozco in the middle playing CB. I thought horrible first half. I just had this lingering feeling the whole first half that this was going nowhere. We weren't going anywhere, and nobody felt comfortable in that particular formation. And Buttle was pretty much an abomination up top, but can you blame him? He's all alone.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I don't like the solo striker. I haven't been a fan of it, even when we had McBride. I mean, the classic target striker, but it's just I don't know if it's just our players or if it's the system or as a whole. We just aren't set to play with one solo striker to hold up the play like that. In my opinion, I mean, I can be proven wrong from game to game. It's possible that we might have a stellar game with one striker, but I suspect that we'll probably have more abysmal games with our strikers as a one solo striker.
Yeah.
First half we played with 4 center mids, one in the midfield.
You mean
we played with one winger/striker,
3 center mids?
Well, no. I'm sorry. I'm considering the positions that they normally play. I consider Torres. Center mid.
Yeah. Okay.
We played with 4 in the starting lineup as far as our midfield is concerned. We played with 4 center mids and then one winger/striker, depending on what you prefer Donovan to really play.
Right.
We played with 2 new faces on the back line. I mean, we lacked chemistry. We lacked any form of chemistry. And in all honesty, I think we lacked chemistry in the second half. I just think that it picked up because we involved some more youthful sparks to the team.
Well, I'm sure Torres was out there playing on the left midfield thinking, what the am I doing out here? You know?
It didn't work before. Why are we trying it again? I mean, and Torres is a good center midfield option. We should be trying him at the center midfield option, and he did in the second half. I thought his play improved, and I thought his play improved a bit in the second half because he wasn't seeing much of the ball on the wing.
Did Jurgen Klinsmann expect Torres and Castillo on the left to have some sort of psycho Mexican connection?
Sort of the same league and everything.
Yeah, or they're both Mexican Americans. Yeah. I mean, because you couldn't have put 2 players who were more not mentally in line with one another than those 2 together in the first half. They just looked completely disconnected. And I'm sorry, just because they're both Mexican and they both play in the Mexican League and they're both Mexican Americans, doesn't mean they're going to necessarily have some sort of connection. Castillo played pretty poorly, I think, most of the game. I
don't trust him as a left back option. Although not to say that we have many left back options that we can really go with. But say if we had a Lehigh involved there, we push Castillo up to left mid as an option. Because I'm not discrediting his passing ability or his or anything for that matter. His defensive ability does sort of make me a little cautious.
Yeah.
I thought he flubbed up a couple of what should have been easy enough clears and kicks out of midair.
Yeah, that was scary.
Directly out of bounds, and I'm like, I'm not feeling him at left back. I mean, in all honesty, I think he might be a solid left mid option.
Yep.
But
I don't know. I don't like him at left mid either. But listen, Castillo's, this is his second game, and I've seen him play some great games for his club, and it just could be he just felt totally out of sorts. And could you blame him?
That was unbelievably awkward.
Yeah, I mean, it just was an uncomfortable situation. The whole first half felt like a bad rash. Didn't matter how much you itched it; it just kept itching, and nobody looked comfortable. Everybody looked a little out of sorts, and then the midfield was just a rotating cycle of ridiculous nothing going on there. Bradley Jones might as well have hardly been playing most of the game. And then, whoever the Mexican analyst they brought on ESPN to help out kept saying, well, Bradley needs to drop further back. Well, okay, fine. But you know what? Bradley didn't drop further back when he played in his club team in Holland, he doesn't always drop all the way back when he plays at Mönchengladbach. I mean, let's quit pretending that Bradley can't play a more offensive role. The fact is that he can, but the other fact is that he didn't in this game. Nobody took any responsibility for getting the ball forward and being aggressive.
Well, in all honesty, I think maybe the confusion comes down to what his role really should be as far as the triangle. Like you mentioned, they sort of rotated around. You know, Bradley would be up sometimes, Jones would go up sometimes, and then Bradley would cycle back, and then so forth.
It might as well have been the Bermuda Triangle.
It's pretty much what it was. I mean, in all honesty, I thought Jones and Bradley played poorly in the match. Whether or not it was a formation and how what they were asked to do made any factor, I'm not sure. But I just know that this wasn't one of their best games by any means.
No.
In fact, it was probably one of their worst I've seen this cycle.
Especially from Jones and Bradley.
Exactly.
At least Beckerman made himself available near the back.
He cleaned up nicely.
Right. And, we may be seeing a lot more of Kyle Beckerman in the next few years, because I really honestly think that not only does he have a really classical German last name, but I think that Jurgen, I'm just kidding about that, but I think Woolly Mammoth Head is a big favorite of Jurgen Klinsmann's, and behind the scenes has been a favorite of his for a long time. And I think Kyle Beckerman's here to stay. I think Kyle Beckerman thinks more highly. Klinsmann thinks more highly of Beckerman than he thinks of Bradley. I mean, I'm just saying. I think he does.
And I'm not sure. I don't want to read into anything.
For the system that Klinsmann wants to play, I think
very possible.
I think he thinks more highly of Beckerman. And Beckerman didn't have a great game, but he did not have a bad one. And he was there. He was there in the tight spots, and he didn't make any really huge gaffes. And he was present where Jones and Bradley were not present. They were absent. They were ghosts.
No, I thought Beckerman played pretty well, actually. I'm not downplaying him. In all honesty, I think he's a very undervalued player, especially last cycle. I thought that he could have been brought in more often than not. I thought the few games he did play last cycle, I thought he played well.
Yeah.
And I think he might get more games. In all honesty, I think one reason why people downplay his abilities is that the fact that he's still in MLS. But in all honesty,
and his hair.
Yeah. I think his hair gives him more props. I mean, we need more characters on the team.
Well, yeah.
I think Beckerman showed his potential. I think he showed that he's a candidate for a center mid position. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that the triangle position works with our players. I think 4-4-2 still is our strongest formation, and we need. I don't like the solo striker. I mentioned this beforehand.
Yep.
But if we were going strictly off of yesterday's game, I think Beckerman had the strongest performance of any center midfielder. Maybe Torres is after Beckerman, and then Bradley and Jones were a toss-up. Who you thought was better, I'm not sure. I'm not downplaying their abilities. They're both talented players, but in that game, they were weak links in the match.
Well, the game changer, you bring Shea on the left and Rogers on the right. You move Donovan.
You bring a true left mid.
Right.
Left mid, and you push the center mid into the center mid.
I don't know if Shea's a true left mid, but he is at least.
He's more of a left mid than
Torres. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So you got Shea and Rogers on the wings. You move Donovan underneath Agudelo, and you move Torres into the middle next to Beckerman, and all of a sudden, guess what? You actually have something that might work. And Donovan, again, the Mexican analyst on ESPN last night was just saying how many times in the night did he, this is your best player. Yeah, we know that. Thank you. We know he's our best player. The question is, how do we get Donovan the ball? And Donovan proved last night he is still the best player on this team. He was, he was there, and he was artistic. He was thoughtful. His passes were on the money. He actually deserved probably a free kick from being chopped down in the box. That would have put us up 2-1. I'm not going to cry about that. We didn't get it, so what? It's friendly, big deal. All right, we move on. But still, the best players last night for that short spurt of time totally clouded over all the guys who didn't perform in the first half were Shea, Agudelo, and Donovan, and even Torres finally came alive in that second half.
You know, in my opinion, some of the best players of yesterday's match were the MLS-based players. I mean, you had Shea, who performed admirably. Whether or not these players would do well if they started the match, I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have that much to judge on. But when they came in, Rogers and Shea and Agudelo both all played very well. I want to point out one thing. Some people have been talking about it. They have mentioned you would never see in the Bradley era Rogers being subbed in for Michael Bradley. Mm-hmm. But then again, in anybody's era, who would ever think of that sub?
Yeah.
Very few people would ever dream of that sub, in all honesty.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Rogers, I don't think was Rogers even a part of this initial roster.
He wasn't.
He added.
He wasn't, but it wasn't a straight swap.
It wasn't a straight swap. I agree.
No,
it was
not at all.
A swap of the positions too, as well.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it was just like people are like really harping on Bradley and Jones, and yes, they played poorly, but the substitutions wasn't necessarily apple to apple. Basically, like I'm saying, we brought in Rogers, but we didn't play Rogers what Bradley was playing. We moved the positions around. We moved Donovan over, and all credit to Shea for making the effort and the pass. All credit to Rogers for finding his position. Some people were discrediting him that anybody, a 2-year-old could tap that in. In all honesty, it was like 3-4 weeks ago.
We saw Wondolowski and Dempsey.
Wondolowski, Dempsey, Donovan all missed from that position.
Yeah.
A simple tap in.
Yep.
It's simple to say that they should tap that in. They should make that goal. But you know what? People miss it.
Yeah.
Credit to Rogers because he put it away.
Yeah.
Credit to him. I mean, he deserves another look. I guarantee he'll be back.
Yeah. No, he'll be back. And the thing about Robbie Rogers, unfortunately, is that we may not get the same Robbie Rogers next time.
Exactly. That's my concern, too. That's why I'm saying that the straight switch to switch would never happen under any manager, but it did happen this time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Robbie Rogers is great, but once you have a bunch of guys coming back, once you have Stuart Holden coming back and healthy, once Bedoya is available again, once Dempsey's back in the lineup, listen, Robbie Rogers is probably not going to make this team.
I hope this is I hope this is him turning a page and starting a new cycle.
I don't know. I mean, the guy he scored a goal and he had some good moments.
He's had promise in his lifetime, and I hope this is it. But
10 minutes of good soccer does not a player make. So I don't know.
Thank you, Yoda.
I think I had some 10 minutes in my soccer career, Brett, that would have made you think I should have been on the U.S. national team. But when it all came down to it, I wasn't ready.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, we're probably running out of time, so we probably had more to talk about, but time rules. For anybody that is actually somewhat interested, I'm actually going to be on WBCB 1490 AM Philly this weekend. This is a plug, Brett, for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
you're my guest in this.
This show. It's a plug for the radio station. It's Vuvuzela. It's the World Soccer Show, and this is a radio station just outside of Philadelphia, and it's on at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. So if you want to hear me, babble more during the weekend, you can catch me there. But until next time, for Brett and Derek, this has been the Straight Red Card. Good night.